Amidst a costly violent crime wave across London, the Metropolitan Police has announced that they've simply run out of things to sell to make money. So you've probably heard about the violent crime wave in London. Stabbings are up, shootings are up, murders up. We've more than 100 people murdered this year alone. But did you know about the Met Police's serious financial trouble, which is part of the reason why this is happening? So today the chairman of the Metropolitan Police Federation has announced that London's police force, the largest police force in the country, the Met, has simply run out of things to sell. I didn't even know they were selling things. The Independent reports Britain's largest police force has, quote, run out of things to sell, the chairman of the Metropolitan Police Federation has announced. As it emerged, the force has sold more than £1 billion worth of property over the past 6 years. The Metropolitan Police said the funding cuts had led them to breaking point, with officers often forced to perform several roles at once. We've sold the crown jewels, so to speak. We've run out of things to sell. This is really, really worrying for society, said Ken Marsh, chairman of the Met Police Federation. And he's right, this is a serious problem, and while it's easy to blame it all on Sadiq Khan, which is it's quite nice and convenient to do, actually the government holds a lot of responsibility in this as well. So as bad as Sadiq Khan is, it's not all down to him. So let's talk about the cuts. Sadiq Khan always talks about the cuts to the police, and then the government tells us that they haven't actually cut the police funding. So the idea that the government's slashing police funding is technically wrong. So when the government tells you that, they're not lying. They're being economic with the truth, but they're not lying. So the amount of money that's allocated to the England and Wales police budget has remained the same in real terms. The issue is that the costs of running the Met Police in London are actually increasing. So the Met calculated that they need to save around 400 million quid by 2021, and they say that the extra spending for the police force comes from a result of rises in pay, inflation, which is natural and normal in a regular first world economy. Pension costs are increasing as well, and also, interestingly, firearm expenditure and investment in a modern IT system. So first of all, the government hasn't responded to the needs of the Met Police. We have to recognise that. They haven't responded to the issue of inflation and pension costs, which needs to be done. That's a problem, and it's putting the Met Police under massive strain. So I don't blame them when they target the government and when they blame the government, but shouldn't we also be questioning the expenditure of the Met Police? It can't all be pensions and inflation, surely. So while Sadiq is increasing council tax to the highest levels he can across London, more money is being spent on firearms. Now, I'm not against the police in London having guns, really, they kind of need it, but I wonder if the rise in a need for the police force having firearms has something to do with the fact that London is importing violent criminals. You know, our capital city has seriously violent ghettos throughout it now, something you never would have thought of, quite some time ago. Of course, there's always been crime, but the extent to which it's happening now and how common it is all over the city is really quite unprecedented. So our capital city is getting more and more violent, as some areas completely ungovernable, and the threat of terror attacks. Let's not forget the British intelligence is constantly stopping new attacks from happening in the city. So of course the Met Police are going to need more guns. It's pricey to have an environment that enjoys this wonderful forced multiculturalism, right? Now, combine that with the fact that London's Met Police admitted that they have 900 dedicated hate crime officers, police officers basically sitting and scrolling through Twitter all day. So presumably they're the ones benefiting from this new modern IT system that they're spending all this money on. So I've got a lot of questions about this, you know. Sadiq blames the government, then the government blames Sadiq Khan, and we've got this endless battle. And actually, really, if we're honest, they're both pretty responsible for this. The Met Police, by the way, if you weren't aware of this, I've been looking it up today. The Met Police has sold off hundreds of flats and buildings that they've owned for hundreds of years. It's amazing. They even sold off New Scotland Yard for 370 million quid to Abu Dhabi investors. They've sold off police stations and residential blocks, and they've raised about £1 billion overall. But what happens when that £1 billion goes? And as that £1 billion is spent and the money saved, and the crime still keeps increasing, and the ghettos remain the same, and the police piggy banks just won't be able to keep up with it, what happens then? Here's the reality of the Met policing crisis. The government haven't technically slashed the Met Police's budget, but at the same time they haven't kept up with inflation and pension costs. But again, at the same time, Sadiq Khan hasn't prioritised police funding properly. As mayor, he should be doing a much better job of that. Ken Marsh, the head of the Met Police Federation, says that the police are reaching a breaking point because they're having to act as social workers and performing roles that they're not typically used to performing. He even says they're having to work as mental health specialists in the capital city, and that they've now sold off all their crown jewels, flats, apartment buildings, New Scotland Yard, to the tune of £1 billion, with nothing left to sell. This isn't going to end well, is it? You can't keep selling off your possessions to deal with a crisis that's getting exponentially worse, because where does it end and what happens when you run out of things to flog? So, Mrs. May, give the Met Police more money. It's simple as that, really. But demand that they allocate it in the right way, because no, I wouldn't trust Sadiq Khan and his mates in the Met Police, at the top of the Met Police, I might add. I wouldn't trust them with all that money, allocating it however they see fit. We need some kind of body that gets involved with this and says, okay, we're going to give you more money for this, but here's how you have to spend it. Here's how you can spend it that will actually reduce crime and reduce violence in inner city ghettos. We should also be sending in specialists into the crime-ridden ghettos themselves to arrest criminals and tackle violence. It can be done. Violence can be reduced and crime in London can be tackled if you have the political will to do it. Catch up with all the Rebel stories on our brand new app, which you can download now from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.